Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Randa Khan. And yes, as you know, we give you information about sports from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. And yes, PSL 2021, yes, it's on and the team is there. It's rescheduled. Looking forward for an amazing match. And yes, from the world of golf, Jordan Spieth rolls to bogey-free 63 at Charles Schwab Challenge. And yes, from the world of football, Zinedine Zidane leaves Real Madrid for the second time as manager. And yes, from the world of French Open tennis, yes, Rafael Nadal, Djokovic and Federer in the same half of the draw. And yes, those were the headlines. And talking about PSL, yes, finally PSL is happening. It's tentatively due from the June 5th to the 20th. The good question is, how will it go? Because of the fact, the unfortunate irony of PSL was the corona pandemic, but now finally they've managed to recontinue the whole thing in Abu Dhabi. But anyways, we'll talk more in-depth analysis with our former cricketer Yasser Arafat, who's joining us. Yasser, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So Yasser, I would start off with the state perspective. I know there would be a lot of situations in terms of the biosecure bubble once again, because we went through the same journey, and I think all the leagues out there have been through the same situation. So what's your take on the situation that's been created now?
First of all, we all need to understand it is very difficult for any country, for any organization to set up a particular plan for any event. It's very difficult to plan beforehand because it's been over more than a year now, but still, you can't seal anything with your SOPs. It's very difficult to make a biosecure bubble. That happened. We've seen in Pakistan last year, this year, and even in the IPL.
Right.
So it is very difficult. We got to understand that, but at the same time, we need to look into the mistakes we have done in the past, in the first league of the PSL, which happened in Karachi.
Right.
The lot of violations we have seen from the franchises, from the player, or even from the PCB.
Right.
So the good thing now is Pakistan is reorganizing this PSL, remaining matches of the PS Abu Dhabi, with the proper company which is called Estrada. They hired it. It's a London-based company which had IPL in the past in Dubai, and last summer when England had their own cricketing summer, so they were successful in those events. So I'm sure this time Pakistan will be lucky enough to complete that remaining matches.
Yasser, if we look at it, obviously it's not only PSL that actually discontinued back in March, it's the IPL that discontinued, and even there are speculations and stories that eventually even the World Cup of the T20 World Cup that's come in, that was supposed to happen in India, is now probably rescheduling and moving into Abu Dhabi or that side of the world. So your take on the entire situation, because obviously it is hard now. And in terms of players to adapt to the situation, we also need the management, and not only the management, the spectators to adapt to the situation. So how do you see this entire perspective in terms of the long run? If PSL, God forbid, something goes wrong in PSL this time, who will we be blaming?
I think first of all, players need to understand their role, because self-policing, we've been talking about self-policing in the past, and I think players are the key factor in that. If they have the SOPs by the board or by the organization, they should abide by it, and they should honor those SOPs, and they got to fulfill those things.
True.
If same kind of violations will happen now, then there will be no chance to complete the remaining matches of PSL.
Right.
Talking about the World Cup, as you mentioned, you rightly said that the number of cases in India is more than 300,000 every day, and the
Right.
number of deaths like more than 4,000 every day. So look like it's gonna be cancelled in India, the
Right.
World Cup,
Right.
and they will gonna have that in UAE, because they have three good venues, one in Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai. So most likely the World Cup is gonna be happening in UAE. So which is, I think, the ICC needs to decide that as early as possible, because there's only few months left to decide the venue for the World Cup.
True. And if we talk about, obviously, the focus more is definitely, let's hope the PSL goes well. Obviously, one of the issues in terms of, obviously, Shahid Afridi is not playing because of his back injury. That is one of the major upsets in terms of, because, when it comes to, star power, obviously, we want that star power in terms of PSL. And obviously, he's not well. So do you have any insights on what exactly went wrong with Shahid Afridi right now?
Yeah, I'm same like you. I mean, I've seen on the social media, on the news, that he got a lower back injury, and I saw a few pictures of him having his scan,
Right.
CT scan, I guess. So I think he is struggling with the injury, and his physio or his doctors, I think, advise him not to go there and
Right.
play the matches, especially in the hot conditions. And that is the key, that is going to be the key for the players now, considering the temperature is gonna rise 40-degree plus in the
Exactly.
daytime. So match is gonna be start at 5 p.m., which is not in the day, but still you're gonna get 35 to 40 degrees temperature heat. So I think players are gonna get dehydrated, and make sure. I think from a player's perspective, I think the management should come, the physio should come up with some sort of plan that players should hydrate during the period of those matches.
Right, and I actually was going through one of those a few interviews, what you've just mentioned right now, that obviously the temperature is going to go above 40 degrees Celsius, and not only that, the humid factor. The point is, we all know how the situation would be there at that very moment. The question is, how will we tackle it? So what's been told in terms of the in-depth situations at in Abu Dhabi would be, people will be getting like the coconut water, lighter kits, and maybe the collar, the ice collars and stuff. I think there's a lot of working on that. But the point is, for people, those who have been playing in these kind of regions, for instance, for people like Pakistan, for people who have been like playing in this country, because we know how heat is here, they will still manage to get out of that. But the thing is, how will those who have not been to these situations up till now, how will they do it? Because loss of electrolytes, loss of muscle power, loss of strength, specifically for fast bowlers, how do you think those who have not seen these situations, how will they tackle with it?
Absolutely, you're right. There are few players who are coming from New Zealand, or maybe I'm not sure, from Australia. They are coming from their winter. Actually,
Right.
it's winter in New Zealand and Australia. So if they come from there
Right.
and coming to Dubai, UAE, sorry, Abu Dhabi, rather
Abu
Abu
Dhabi, yeah.
Dhabi, and playing under scorching heat, which is like 40, 45 degrees. Another point you made, humidity.
Right.
In the daytime, you get dry heat, but in the evening, you get humidity there. So I think in that part of the world, like UAE, these 3 months, like July, August, June, July, August, they are the toughest month of the year, when there's no outdoor activity, especially the cricket or other sport. They do whatever they do indoors.
Right.
So it's going to be tough situation for the players. I'm sure the management, again, I said the physios, they will come up with some plans, make sure the players remain dehydrated during those matches. Another thing which is very important, because Pakistan is going to play some tough games in the future. Pakistan is touring to England. They got
Right.
tough competition, and then within 4 to 5 months, Pakistan got to play World Cup. So I hope Pakistani players get through this phase of playing under difficult conditions, because I don't want, or nobody wants any injuries now. God forbid, if one of your top players get injured by playing in these hot conditions, is going to cost Pakistan a lot.
Right. Let's hope things go the way that we want to. I'll just talk about a few players who've actually, for instance, let's talk about the players inside. Naseem Shah is officially cleared to join the PSL 6 League, and not only that, obviously Ben Cutting is missing. So a few players have been on board and off board. How do you think it would be an impact to obviously the individual teams that are actually going to perform for PSL now?
I think Naseem Shah got lucky this time because he managed to get into the charter flight. Otherwise, the way PCB declared or released him from that biosecure bubble or from the hotel, that because he provided the old PCR test,
Right.
which was, although it was negative, but that was old. The SOP or the rule was you got to provide the negative test under 48 hours. So he provided, I think, the roughly 3-4 days old PCR test. So I think he was lucky enough to get that flight to Abu Dhabi, and I'm sure because Quetta Gladiator was moaning about this, that their combination is gonna struggle and they're gonna miss him dearly. So I think Quetta Gladiator and Naseem Shah got lucky enough to be in Dubai now with the team, and they are doing quarantine, 7 days quarantine there. Right. And talking about the combination of other teams, yes, most of the teams are missing their key players, their foreign players, but at the same time, it is a great opportunity for the local player, for the young players to get into the squad and show some good performances, especially considering World Cup is just around the corner. If any one or two good performances, they can get them to the World Cup.
Right, and obviously a lot of players are there, a lot of players are missing. Talking about Shahid Afridi, of course, we discussed, obviously he's going through this back injury. Obviously he will not be playing, but there's a replacement for him, Asif Afridi. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, Asif Afridi is from KPK, and if I'm not wrong, he's a left-arm spinner. Right. I hardly see him bowling in the matches, but I heard a lot about him. Right. If he's the replacement of Shahid Afridi, there must be something good about him, and I'm sure he will do well for the team.
Yeah, we'll definitely look forward to that. And a few players that I want to go into in-depth analysis. Obviously, we love PSL. Talking about Dahani, I think he's one of those brilliant bowlers out there who still have a lot of passion, because we can't continue utilizing Shaheen Shah Afridi again and again because of specifically talking about the scorching heat, because we need to prepare the team for the World Cup, right? So I think Dahani would be one of those individuals who I personally think can be the key factor in terms of bowling. What's your take on that?
I'm really impressed the way Dahani is, performing well in front of the big crowds and at a bigger stage. Right. So again, having said that, at the same time, I think he is too young to get selected for the Pakistan team at the moment. He needs to at least play 2 to 3 years first-class cricket. He needs to bowl longer spell, develop his muscle, develop his new skills. So once he's ready to play, and perform at a higher level, then I think we should consider him for Pakistan. At the moment, is a great prospect. We need to look after him. The High Performance Center, the PCB, the selector, and the management should keep a good eye on him. And there are other players who are shown that they are good enough to play for Pakistan. But at this time, they are too young. We got to work along with them, and we got to plan for them for the next 2-3 years. And when they are ready, we make sure they should play for Pakistan.
Right. In terms of the standing, if we look at the standing table, of course, Karachi comes at the top, then comes Peshawar, Zalmi, and obviously then Islamabad United. So how do you see the upcoming matches? Obviously, when it started, when PSL was like on the go back in March, it was pretty interesting. We all were enjoying each and every moment of it. So who do you personally think would be your favorite team right now?
If you go back in March when the games were happening in Karachi, at that time, apart from one game which Quetta beat, I think, I don't know, Islamabad or which team, batting first, I think, they defended the target. Right. Other than that, whoever won the toss would like to chase the target, and that was the case, like first 12 to 13 games win by the team who won the toss. So right. I'm not sure they're gonna that formula is gonna apply in Abu Dhabi now. Yeah. But looking at the table, I think top 4 teams are right on the like they all have similar points, like 6 points, and right. The last bottom 2 teams got 2 points. I think they got 1 victory. So the tournament is still open. Whoever wins like 3 to 4 games in a trot, they will have a good chance. But I would, if you ask me my preference, I think Karachi looks the most favorite team to win the regain their title. And they got good bowling attack, they got good spin, Imad Wasim, and then at the same time they got the explosive batsman Babar Azam, Shirjeel, and so I think they look very formidable side.
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much, Yasir, for being a part of the show and sharing the in-depth analysis in terms of PSL. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So yes, that was the major insight on PSL. Yes, the team is there now, and obviously they're in quarantine in Abu Dhabi. It's going to be really, really hard, but I'm sure all the fans out there, in terms of those who support and love cricket, would surely want to see this PSL continuing. Anyways, we'll take a break, and once we get back from the break, there's more sports coming up your way. See you guys after the break. And yes, welcome back from the break. And yes, before the break, we were discussing the world of cricket. But as you know, we are always open to all sorts of sports. And yes, we're going to talk about golf. Yes, in terms of golf, obviously there have been few happenings lately. And not only that, there are some happenings that are happening right now. So to discuss the in-depth situation and scenarios in terms of golf, we have with us one of our national golf players with us. Umar, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me over.
Great. Omar, I'll start off with obviously Jordan Spieth right now is obviously going and leading that situation in terms of the Charles Schwab Challenge. But, okay, let's just start with this current challenge and then we'll further go because, in terms of, it doesn't matter who is out there at the first now. And you can, and something like, in terms of your experience in terms of golf, you and, a lot of people out there, that Thursday and Friday are not the days to decide who is going. But right now, Jordan Spieth is there. Your take on the entire situation right now?
Well, yeah, definitely Jordan Spieth has a very good round of -7. And along with him is the Sergio Garcia, who's co-leading the tournament.
Right.
And yes, you're pretty much right. First 2 days are pretty much just to stay in the contention. And all the players are looking forward to post some good rounds. So they're in the mix for the weekend.
Right. And, in terms of, obviously, when we talk about Jordan Spieth, I would want to just go back because I still think that, we still need to talk more about the PGA, the tournament that took place and, in terms of the situation, how Phil Mickelson just took over. It's still, a lot of people out there still want to talk about that same story, why he broke records of being that one golfer who changed the journey of everybody else. So how about, just talking about that situation for now and then we can come back to the Charles Schwab.
Well, definitely Phil Mickelson becoming the oldest major winner and, winning his 6th major golf championship is something that has really came up on the surface and, playing alongside with Brooks Koepka and so many other young athletes and good golfers being out there.
Right.
And not to forget, it was one of the longest golf course.
Yeah, exactly. Even DeChambeau said that, he was scared to perform there. And, all the big names were gone.
Exactly.
And Phil Mickelson, I think it was pure experience, if I'm not wrong.
It was pure experience because if we talk about the defending champion of PGA Championship, which was Colin Morikawa,
right,
he is probably 24 years old.
Right.
And just for Phil Mickelson to win at the age of 50 is something so amazing and so much motivating for all the other golfers. And it pretty much defines and sets a pace that it doesn't matter if you're young anymore.
Right.
Because, he opens so much venues for the golfers, those who have been there.
True.
And they're trying to win the majors and trying to win on the PGA Tour. So I think that was something very fascinating and amazing for the golfing world.
Right. And all eyes, in terms of obviously the Charles Schwab Challenge, all eyes are on Jordan Spieth. Why? Because obviously it's the home course and he won back in 2016, right?
Yeah.
So obviously when you have won the course, you know the course. How do you see the impact right now in the long run? Maybe we can talk more about this on Saturday or Sunday after everything is done. But how do you see the growth or the leading table, if we talk about all the players that are working, how do you see this growing for him right now?
Well, definitely Jordan Spieth won this tournament back in 2016. And this was the first tournament he ever played on the PGA Tour because it's one of his home clubs.
Right.
So definitely there are high chances for him to win. And, he's making a quite run back and he's gradually getting up the world ranking. So I think he would be very much focused just to stay in the mix over the weekend and just try to win. And alongside with him is the Sergio Garcia, who won the same tournament in 2001, which was his first ever PGA Tour win. So if any tournament you go out there and you play and you've already performed better, you always have positive attitude. You always try to bring back those positive memories.
Right.
So that's something that pretty much suits your eye. It suits your mindset. So for the golfers, those who have already won, it's way easier than for them to win as compared to the golfers, those who have never won on the same golf course.
Right. And in terms of golf course, the only impact I think in terms of, obviously, I'm not really a golfer, but at least I know how the weather impacts. Things may be different this time. Obviously, it would not be the same weather back in 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, for someone who actually won those tournaments. And obviously, climate change and things are happening, in terms of humidity in the air and stuff. How much impact would the weather impact will be for all those golfers right now?
Well, it keeps changing. If it's a cloudy weather and it's windy, all of a sudden, if there's a hole on which you're playing a 7-iron, if it's a headwind, you'll start playing 4 or 5-iron.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, if it's a downwind, you'll all of a sudden start playing a 9-iron or a wedge into the green.
Right.
So all these players at that level practice so much that they're pretty much accustomed to all kind of weather.
Right.
So definitely that's...
So hopefully we're still looking at, obviously the impact is going to be there. That's exactly what you... Okay, so I'm just going to tell you, I'm just going to ask about, obviously, Phil Mickelson and, how Phil Mickelson changed the entire perspective of golf, and in terms of how he will be in terms of, because, he's taking a break right now. That's what, he's just going to perform in this tournament for now, and then he's going to take a break for the US Open, if I'm not wrong. So how exactly is going to work for them? Because as per his schedule, Phil Mickelson is performing here, but then he's going to take a break. So what is his current situation in terms of the struggle or the tournament right now?
Well, for the first time since 1993, Phil Mickelson was outside the top 100 golf ranking.
Right.
I think that was one of the motivational factor for him, because he's the only golfer in the history who has stayed probably for 17, 18 years in the top 100. When we talk about top 50 or top 100 golfers, all these golfers are on another level.
Right.
He went to 113 ranking, and now since he won, he's back in the 100 ranking.
True.
And US Open is the only major that Phil Mickelson has never won. So I think that is really a stepping stone for him to give it a shot, and that's his chance to complete the Grand Slam. And at his level, the only thing that he needs to achieve now is to complete the Grand Slam.
Right. So he's got his eyes basically focused on the US Open. So that he can just complete that entire perspective.
Exactly.
That's pretty interesting to know. And I just want to know more in terms, if we talk about obviously PGA, I just want to know a bit about the Player Impact Program. There's this one specific thing that I would want, and I'm sure all my audience and everybody would want. So what exactly is this program?
Well, a few weeks or months ago, PGA Tour announced a Player Impact Program that is basically they'll be giving $1 million to top 10 golfers, those who have impact on the golf. And that has multiple variables. For example, one variable is the golfer who's going to be searched maximum times on the Google.
Right.
So, these are a few things because they came up with this program to grow the game, and grow the game outside just the golf course.
Right.
And recently, if you have gone through the social media feud between Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, all of a sudden the PR team or their PR consultant have a different approach towards that.
True.
Now they want to promote it as well.
As much. And I think now where the situation lies in terms of, obviously it's pretty much social media. And I think golf is growing now.
Yeah, it's gradually. You see Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods were like the big golfers, but now we also get to talk about Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, Colin Morikawa.
Right.
So, gradually they're trying to promote it and, grow the game.
So in terms of the growth, of course, I'm sure they'll be giving millions of dollars to, in terms of audience. But I think now is the time that, all these golfers who are actually representing golf now, they need to have like a proper hardcore PR teams to manage, because, that's pretty much how artists or how any even any musician would do. They would go out there and they would tell their PR team to ensure that, they're out there. So how impactful this would be in the long run, because now I see a lot of youngsters out there who are like, golf is not an older game. It's not a game that is to be played by the elders. It's like the game. The impact is changing. So how much impact do you see in the long run in terms of growth of golf after the announcement of the Player Impact Program?
Well, definitely it's gonna grow enormously because a lot of other athletes even in USA like Tom Brady, Stephen Curry, they're very good golfers,
Right.
and they usually come on every PG Tour event.
Right.
You know, so it's going to grow the game and it's going to bring in a lot of new people and especially the next generation to play golf.
Right. Well, Umar, thank you so much for giving us the in-depth analysis in terms of golf. I'll just, end up with a few more news. Thank you once again in terms of your wisdom of golf. So anyways, I'll quickly jump over to the world of football. Yes, talking about football, Zinedine Zidane finally leaves Real Madrid for the second time as manager. Is major upsets? We still don't know the in-depth what exactly went wrong, but yes, he has resigned and he also had like at least a year remaining in his contract. But not to forget that Real Madrid did not win a single trophy this season, which is sad. When we talk about Real Madrid, if we look back into Real Madrid, he was also a part of Real Madrid back in 2001 to 2006. He's been like one of the most living legends out there. But unfortunately, right now, in terms of him coaching them, things didn't work that way and things did not go the way that, we all thought for Real Madrid. But anyways, let's hope we get more information on what exactly happened back then. If we get to know, we'll surely share with you. Anyways, I'll quickly jump over to the world of tennis. Yes, if we talk about tennis, we talk about the French Open that's actually working. Yes, Rafael Nadal, Djokovic and Federer are in the draw now. Now they're finally going to face one another. And not to forget, Nadal obviously could not basically meet Djokovic back in the French Open semifinals, but this time it's going to be super, super interesting. So let's see. It's going to be a hard, deal in terms of performing. And Nadal obviously beat Djokovic last year in the French Open. So the thing is, it's all about the court. It's all about the situation. It's like a hard court. It's going to be technically very hard. And yes, we all know that Djokovic is number one, but Nadal still managed to, beat him back then. So let's see how things flow by now. And not to forget that, in terms of Roger Federer, he has also been drawn in the same half as Nadal and Djokovic. So it's going to be super interesting to see how things develop in terms of the French Open. Anyways, you guys, if you want to reach out to us and want to tell us more about sports, you can on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. Till then, take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.